Let's just dive right in, shall we? Welcome to this explainer, tailored specifically for you, the professional fantasy authors and world builders out there. Today, we aren't just looking at some generic roaring monster. No, we are tracking the evolution of a truly classic occult figure, taking him straight from the historical pages of the Ars Goetia and dropping him right into modern literary folklore. We're going to completely deconstruct the demon Berith, and by the end of this, you'll have a masterclass template for crafting your next unforgettable dark fantasy villain.
The writer arrived before the bells, a crown of gold that did not shine like treasure, but like a verdict. Wow, right? To set the tone for our dark fantasy deep dive, we're opening with this absolutely chilling passage. It perfectly captures that immediate, foreboding atmosphere this kind of character brings into a room. And I absolutely love this text because it proves a crucial point about world building. True intimidation, it isn't about some beast roaring from the shadows. It's the quiet, incredibly heavy dread of official, undeniable judgment just walking right through your door. That is exactly the energy we want to capture today.
So, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll meet the Red Duke himself. Then, we'll decode his core symbolism, build out a comprehensive antagonist dossier, explore a few dark fantasy plot hooks, and finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with a practical villain writing workshop.
All right, moving right into Section 1. Meet the Red Duke. Let's see exactly where this archetype originates.
So if we look way back at his traditional profile in that foundational text, the Ars Goetia, Berith is classified as a great duke, commanding 26 legions. But what's really cool is how he evolves in later folklore and literary tradition. You see, he isn't just brute force. He brings this incredibly unique mix of martial, royal, and alchemical presence right into the infernal court. The specific imagery in the historical text describes a soldier in red clothing, riding a red horse, but crowned with gold. It's this very deliberate, super unsettling blend of a bloody battlefield and a pristine throne room.
Now, what makes his core Goetic abilities so fascinating for us writers is that his powers are unusually political. He is literally the ultimate demon of decorated ambition. He doesn't just offer raw destructive power, He offers validation. Turning metals to gold is one thing, for sure, but granting and confirming dignities? That makes him a highly dangerous notary. He's the guy who stamps the official seal of approval on your protagonist's darkest desires for status. He makes corrupt ambition entirely legal. Which brings us to Section 2, decoding the symbolism. Let's figure out how to translate those ancient abilities into a modern character design. Consider this your ultimate writer's cheat sheet. We're mapping out elements like the red horse of urge and ambition, directly against that gold crown of recognized legitimacy. What this means is that Berith is not simply a demon of wealth, he's a demon of value itself. When you're world building, you gotta ask yourself, who actually decides what something is worth in your universe? Who holds the power to bestow a title? His clear, subtle voice is your absolute best tool for writing a master of persuasion, someone who uses calculated honesty to completely destroy his enemies. So, the really crucial point here is this striking visual duality. Honestly, it is your most powerful tool for character design. You are actively contrasting the violent, chaotic danger of the battlefield with the official, cold legitimacy of the royal court. When you're using red imagery in your drafts, please don't just put your villain in a red cape and call it a day. Use it to represent passionate, aggressive, unstoppable movement. It's the literal heat of transformation. But then, and here's the genius part, you ground that volatile energy by placing a cold, official gold crown right on his head. That combination, unbridled violence mixed with absolute authority, it is absolutely terrifying.
All right, Section 3, designing the antagonist.
Let's take all those awesome visual metaphors and build out a concrete psychological profile for your story.
When you sit down to write this archetype, he really shouldn't roar or attack mindlessly. Instead, he should enter a great hall and make every single person in there wonder if they are about to be executed or offered a massive promotion. That is the exact kind of tension you want to cultivate. He's not some monster hiding in the shadows. No way. He's a highly decorated official sitting right at the negotiation table in broad daylight, just smiling at you over an ironclad contract.
Looking at his dossier, it reveals this formal, eloquent figure whose vast political strengths are undermined by one fatal flaw: an absolute obsession with public honor. He uses contracts and public legitimacy to completely corner his enemies. But as an author, you obviously need to give your protagonists a way to actually win, right? Well, his over-identification with titles and his sheer, unadulterated contempt for anyone who lacks ambition, those are the perfect psychological levers your heroes can pull to outmaneuver him in the third act.
And this brings us to a really crucial thematic anchor for your narrative. Alchemy here isn't just about making literal gold coins, not at all. It is a terrifying metaphor for manipulating truth and validity. Think about it. How can language make a total illusion seem completely official? Taking a base lie or a totally unearned title and transmuting it into a status that society just accepts as unquestionable truth. Well, that is the dark alchemy of this kind of antagonist.
Moving into Section 4, Dark Fantasy Plot Hooks. Now that we have our blueprint, how do we actually drop this character into your narrative?
Let's look at a few distinct scenarios. In this first one, the crown that confirms. The horror really isn't whether the new king's titles are legal. No, it's about what the crown has systematically erased from history just to make him legitimate. Every single document is perfectly valid. Every signature is 100% real. But to achieve that flawless perfection, a totally sinister, bloody subtraction has occurred entirely behind the scenes.
Then we have the Alchemist of Reputation. This hook asks a wildly fascinating world-building question. What actually happens when worthless metals and forged documents become the unquestionable authority? Just imagine a society that doesn't fall to some grand magical curse or a huge invading army, but simply collapses under the weight of titles that literally no one actually earned. It is, quite frankly, an administrative apocalypse.
Our third hook, the Red Horse Treaty, features our antagonist acting as a witness who leaves a city incredibly rich in material wealth, but completely, utterly spiritually bankrupt. Think about it. The war ends, the Crimson Duke signs the papers, and everyone gets paid in pure gold. But the subtle, invisible clauses tucked away in that treaty, they've traded away the very soul of the city to achieve it. Finally, clear and subtle voice. This hook proves to you as a writer that a villain absolutely does not need to lie to be dangerous. The conflict instead becomes a terrifying battle over context. If your antagonist only ever speaks the exact, precise truth, but deploys those truths at the perfect moment to cause maximum devastation, wow! It forces your heroes into an incredibly complex, practically inescapable moral corner.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, the Villain Writing Workshop. Let's bring all of this together into a practical exercise you can literally use at your writing desk today.
Okay, remember this golden rule when you're drafting. This archetype works best when he stands firmly on the border between absolute truth and corrupt political advantage. The true danger of this character design isn't that he forces people to do evil things against their will. That's too simple. The real danger is that he can make the truth sound exactly like permission. He looks at a hero's darkest, most selfish vanity, validates it, and makes it look like grand destiny.
So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to really fuel your world building. What exact, undeniable truth is your antagonist weaponizing to make their vanity look like destiny? A villain who tells a simple lie is, well, just an obstacle. But a villain who wields a terrifying truth to justify their own corruption, now that is a character your readers will never, ever forget. Take that question back to your drafts. Happy writing.